I know, right? So guys, welcome back to the video. Finally, it's here. I am actually reviewing the Tamron 70-300. I have this lens for I think 3 months now, and I had to send it back to Tamron for a month because it got broken. There was a problem with the aperture, so I had to send it back. Since I have it now, did some sessions with it again. Still the same, well, not damaged, but still the same performance. So I want to start with the cons first, because I think that you guys should probably know the reasons why you shouldn't buy this lens and actually just save for a better one. So let's start with that. If you notice, the light is actually kind of changing here. Excuse that. As you can see, I have a new space now, and well, it's my old room, but as you can see, I have a new setup now, and I have been just experimenting with this yet because I want to do reviews for you guys, and at the same time, as you can check on my previous vlogs and the first ones, when I do videos that I talk to the camera, I just usually go somewhere else that's quiet and just record. But now I want to be at a consistent place where I can do stuff. I'm actually using the 5D Mark II for this setup, so this one doesn't have a dual pixel autofocus. So as long as I just stay on place, I'm gonna be clear. Everything in the background is gonna be blurred. So let's go. Let's start with the cons first. So number one on my list is it has a loud and slow autofocus. Like 1.5 meters to infinity, like it's so slow, it takes its time, and it's really loud. So if you're, it's not that loud when it comes to outdoors, but you can actually notice it when it comes to like taking videos on if you're movie recording with the autofocus, you can actually hear that. Another con that I actually noticed on this type of lens is that it kind of has like a soft filter in every photo, especially on low f-stop number. So when I open the aperture up, the lowest I think is 4.5. The photos just looks really soft. But there's a solution to that. If you actually stop your photos into f5.6 or f8, f11, that actually fixes the problem. But you just have to compromise with the bokeh on the background. But I guess if you're using 300mm and your subject's background is away from it, you won't actually notice the difference. It's actually sharp at f8. That's what I use when I do wildlife photography. So that's actually my solution, because this one at 300, the shots are just soft. And if you're actually shooting at 100 to 180, 100 to 200 at a low f-stop and an open aperture, you can actually have a sharp photo. But I just noticed that if you're all the way in the 300, the photos just look like trash. So you guys just have to stop at f8 and shoot with that. So next, it slows my burst mode. When I go to continuous autofocus on my 70D, I just noticed that when it's trying to like track, because it has a very slow motor, if you like set your camera on autofocus on continuous focus mode and try to like track a bird that's flying, or actually an athlete, if it's sports, it slows your shutter down because the camera has to wait for the lens in order to like take a photo. So the 70D has like 7 frames per second, but it kind of turns out like 5 to 4.5 frames per second. Like it's like ching. It's trying to wait for the lens while it's like trying to track it. So it slows down your burst mode. That's one thing that you need to know about this. But there is a kind of a solution. I recently bought the 90D, which is there in the background, but for some reason this is not slowing the 90D. It's probably because of the new processor or an upgraded firmware that kind of pushes the lens to just boost it up, so I can get faster burst rates on the lens there when it comes to the 90D. But the 70D, I don't know, it's still kind of slow. So that's one thing you need to know before buying this one. And another cons that I don't like about this one is that front part of the lens, or the one that's focusing, is rotating. So if you put like a polarizing filter there, that's going to be like a hassle, because you have to focus first and then set your polarizing filter. So for you landscape photographers that like want to take panoramic shots using telephoto lenses, I don't recommend this one. I should probably just get a higher quality. But if you're a beginner, then you know, have at it. Take your time. If you're not in a rush, just adjust that polarizing filter. The other con is it's advertised by Tamron as a TeleMacro lens, but it's not actually true macro. As you know, I did some research. True macro is 1:1 ratio. That means the size of the subject is equal to the size of the sensor. I don't know if you understand that, but go to Google and search for that. But this one is actually not 1:1, it's 1:2. So you're halfway there. So if you have a decent crop camera, if you have a decent APS-C camera or higher megapixel camera, it's actually just crop it in. And also, when it comes to, I mean, I'm not bothered by it, but there's like a little technique that you have to do in order to get to macro mode, because you have to zoom all the way in to 180 to 300, and then that's when you switch to macro mode, and then you can focus all the way into 0.95 meters. But if you want to go out to macro mode, you can't, because you can't just switch exactly normal. You have to zoom out all the way out in here to 1.5 meters on the focus. That's when you can switch to normal mode, but it'll limit you again, and then you can zoom that out. But if you're a beginner, you probably you have a chance of breaking this one. But you just have to, you know, learn it. It's pretty easy, but it is a hassle when you're trying to shoot fast. There's an insect that landed, you want to focus fast, have to do that, zoom in, and then switch it. And no, it's just a little bit hassle, but that's one thing you need to know. And the last one, I think on my review on this, is it's very, very bad in low light. The aperture is 4.5 to 5.6. Yes, the box is over there. 4.5 to 5.6. So that means when you're here in the Philippines for around 5:30 to 6 p.m. you can't do wildlife photography anymore. I mean, you can use your higher ISO if you just don't care about the image quality anymore and just want to continue shooting. You can, but it'll just be trashy. Excuse the noise. Haven't actually fixed this room's audio system yet. Our dogs is the motorcycle outside and stuff like that. So if you can hear that, sorry, just again, deal with it. Okay, so, and the last one, the cons, but I'm sure it's not the least, but so far in my experience, this is it. It doesn't have image stabilization. Now, I was able to use Nick's, I don't know if you remember in my previous vlogs when I went to Bukhari, I was able to borrow his 55-250 from Canon. It was actually a cheap lens too. This is actually way cheaper. That one has image stabilization, and that really helps, man. I was taking photos of animals with it at low shutter, and that really helped. I was actually taking photos of videos as well with the IS on, and that also really helps. So, but this one doesn't have it, so you're just gonna have to like shoot at a higher shutter speed when you're zooming right in, and make sure you have good lighting, because like I said, this is not good with low light. Now, those are so far the cons that I have for this camera. I know I've been bashing it, and time to go to the pros and cons. Also, disclaimer, I'm not sponsored by Tamron or anything. I bought this with my own money because I recently got interested with wildlife photography, so I need that extra range, and this is like so far the cheapest one. Since I'm not earning with wildlife photography yet, so I thought I'd just use a cheap lens first and practice my way to, you know, maybe in the future get a 600 or something like that. I'm actually planning to get like cheap teleconverter so I can make this a 600. We'll see in the future. Pro number one, this lens is freaking cheap, man. It's cheap. Anyone who doesn't have a work can actually just save for this lens. I bought it for like $60, $70, something like that in America. Here in the Philippines, you can actually get it from around 6,000 to 7,000 pesos. So this is a very cheap lens. I saw the 70 to 300 by Canon is actually cheap too, but I didn't have a chance to buy that one. The camera store here ran out of stock on that one, and I was too excited to just start doing wildlife photography. I couldn't wait to order online, so I just bought this one. I haven't reviewed that, but if you have a lens out there that's 70 to 300, if you're willing to let me borrow it, I'll use it for a week or so and make a video about it too. Again, this lens pretty cheap. Anyone who doesn't have a job can buy this one. Number two, it's great for beginners. I am a beginner myself. The benefits that you have with an expensive lens is way up there. But, you know, I still believe that if you try to like practice in the most crappiest thing, whatever that is, if you try to like start with the worst part, eventually when you get to go to those expensive expensive parts, you'll be like way more better at it. When I was starting to do videos and films and stuff like that back in high school, I used a really small laptop that was like 1 gigabytes of RAM, 320 hard drive, core, I don't know, forgot, it was below i3, something like that. And then when I got to higher end computers, I actually got better with it because I was patient. I had techniques that I had to like do and learn to make that laptop faster. So if you're a beginner, this is really great for you. Good way to start lens. You can I actually recommend also the 250mm and the Canon 300mm. You can actually go with that, but for the meantime, this one is great. Okay, so one of the other pros of this camera is that it has a free lens hood. And some of you guys, I mean, if you buy expensive lenses, like one of my lenses here is the 10-18 wide angle lens from Canon, and that didn't came with a lens hood, so I had to order one from a third-party company, use that instead. But it's nice for Tamron to send this one in, because if you're shooting wildlife, outdoors in general, you really need to block that sunlight to avoid those flares. So this lens hood is a nice touch. So thank you, Tamron, for doing that. I know earlier I said that the macro here is not real. It's 1:2 instead of 1:1, but actually I find that as also a pro. If you have an APS-C camera, higher megapixel APS-C camera like the 90D, the 1:2 macro doesn't really matter anymore, because just set it to 1:2, zoom it in, adjust your aperture so you can focus on that subject, image of the insect, take a photo, crop it in, you got a 1:1 ratio. It's halfway there, so if you just zoom in, if you just crop it right, I think you'll have a decent macro photo. One of the pros of this one is that it's compact. It's small. Put it in a sling bag, put the DSLR in, you're good. Because when it comes to wildlife photography in general, those super telephoto lenses are not so lightweight. They're big. I mean, I have no problem with that. If you're like the average Joe and you went to hiking with that big of a lens, you're gonna have back issues, man. So this one is actually small. It's smaller than the L7200 from Canon. It's smaller than the higher quality 7200 from Tamron. It's really compact. It has the macro in, it has the telephoto in. It's a win-win. And last one is that I think every lens should have this. I mean, not this quality, but every lens in general should probably have a decent quality. Even though this one is cheap, I was able to put out images that are pro level, you know? Because if you have the knowledge with the photography and you have the knowledge with editing, you can actually bend the rules that this lens has provided you. So one of my exhibit recently, the Lifer exhibit, most of my photos were taken from this one. Some was taken from the 250mm. So can you imagine that I was able to like print out high quality images with just this lens. So as long as you know how to like adjust your apertures and stuff, adjust your settings, if you know how to adjust your settings to make this lens sharp, at the same time editing as well, you can actually put out superb quality. So that's so far what I think about this lens. So if you guys are just starting with your journey when it comes to, in general, nature photography, you like to take photos of plants, if you like to take photos of insects, animals, if you want to take sports shots, if you're far away, this is a great lens to start with, because it just has that macro feature, and that's just a bonus. If it's by itself just a 70-300, I would probably doubt buying this one, even if it's cheap, because I could actually get a better one from Canon. So those are like the other lenses that I recommend: the 250mm, 300 from Canon, the 70-300 from Canon. I think it's the Mark II. So if you're like a beginner and want to just start, take photos, man. This is a great lens to start with. Sigma is a little bit better, but I haven't reviewed that yet. I've seen some videos that says it is better than this, but if you have a Sigma out there, let me borrow. I want to try it out. A week or so, I'll make a video of it too. If you just want to do wildlife photography, this is a good lens, because it saves you from using two lenses, like the macro and the telephoto, and at the same time it's smaller, it's lightweight. That's like a bonus feature, man. Because you can imagine I was able to print out photos with these. I still believe in the fact that if you're a great photographer, whatever lens you have, you can take photos with. Because, you know, pro photographers in the 90s and the 60s, they didn't have this one. This is actually way more better than what they had before. So you just have to like focus on the bright side. Ignore the people who are mocking you because you have a cheap lens. Shout out to the people who are mocking me because they have a cheap lens. Okay, so that's it, guys, for this review. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it's different, it's long. I hope you enjoyed also the setup. It's going to improve along the way. More and more reviews in the future, I hope. Thank you for the people who are supporting me from Facebook and on YouTube. There's that. If you have any more requests when it comes to photography reviews, leave a comment on. YouTube is a little bit more inactive, but And Facebook is quite okay. I have the 90D in the background here. If you want me to make a review of that video of that too, I'll make one in the future. So for that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Welcome to the studio. Yeah, I'm supposed to say the or the. Welcome to the studio. Just finished setting it up. Just kidding, I did set it up. Big Bro did. I'm gonna turn on the music right now. Here we go.